Okay, fantastic. So thank you for joining the MOREnet SkillStruck webinar today. Jessica, you want to start the slides for us? We appreciate all of you that are going to watch this recording. Okay, so finding your why behind computer science. I'm going to go ahead and introduce everyone. I'm Brooke Cashin. I happen to live in Kansas City, so I'm right in the Missouri area. I'm the Senior Partnership Manager, and this is Jessica and Margie on the call, and they're going to go ahead and introduce themselves and tell a little bit about themselves.
All right, I'm Jessica Kozinski. I'm a Partnership Manager for the Midwest. I live in Wisconsin. I used to be an innovation coach in a school district, so I helped manage school libraries, funding, and also taught students coding, computer science, and creation, and helped teachers integrate technology.
Hi, everyone. My name is Margie Stahl. I was also a former teacher, just like Jessica, mostly elementary, but I taught for 10 years here in Central Florida, which is where I live. And I get to work with teachers every day and help them implement SkillStruck in their classrooms and solve any problems that could ever come up. So I do a little bit of everything, but it's so nice to meet you.
Great. Okay, so we work for SkillStruck, and what we're doing is helping schools, districts, and communities implement a computer science pathway. It really is to empower teachers, promoting equity, and engaging students. And STEM shouldn't be seen as an extra. So Jessica, go ahead and talk about the trends that we're seeing.
Yeah, so when it comes to STEM and computer science, what we're kind of discovering is schools tend to maybe not value it as much as they do the other subjects. So something that we've been discovering is schools tend to value reading and math, and sports is a big push as well. And then things like science, the arts, SEL, and STEM kind of come in a different category of importance. Something that we kind of like to talk about as a team is when it comes to sports, we spend a lot of money and time getting students involved in sports. I mean, my nephew goes to sports like way too much, even on Sundays. So it's interesting to think that we're pushing for that when in reality, not a lot of high school athletes go on to play varsity sports in college. And less than 2% of high school athletes go on to play in Division I schools. So yes, we're spending time, and sports can, relate to teamwork and all of that, and so can computer science. But we are putting a lot of our eggs in that basket sometimes. Also, when it comes to what we value most, and this is something as a previous computer science teacher I saw a lot of, is I was like a specials course. So if students weren't getting their reading done, getting their math done, or were misbehaving in their core classes, they often weren't allowed to come to my class, which is where a lot of those students who struggle in the classroom would feel most successful. So we were almost taking that away from them instead of really valuing that as something that we can help prepare them for their future through these experiences. So we're here today to kind of talk about why computer science is important and to find your why. So just kicking this off, what do you think, or why do you think it's important to teach computer science to students? If you want to just shout out or throw it in the chat, whatever. Awesome, seeing some things in the chat. It teaches problem solving and recovering from failures. I really like that one too. I just led an HTML workshop, and something that I kind of launched with was, we're gonna make tons of mistakes today, and that's okay. And it's really important to teach students that it's okay to make mistakes. It's definitely a life skill, and wanting to prepare students for the future, helping students develop a growth mindset, again, kind of with that making mistakes. Awesome.
All right, why computer science? Well, in elementary school, we find that they'll have better performance in reading, math, and science. And as far as secondary schools, they're going to get higher scores on their AP exams, like AP Calculus and AP Statistics. And moving into post-secondary schools, students would be more the students that took an AP class are 17% more likely to enroll in college. And so overall, the life skills that students would have experiencing computer science, it would give them better problem-solving skills in their future. And as far as computer science statistics goes, parents are really wanting their students to learn computer science. 93% of parents said that they wanted their students to learn computer science, but unfortunately, only 25% of schools in the US currently teach computer science. And as far as open jobs and future for students, there's 2 million open computer science positions in the US, and the average salary is $83K. So not too shabby and a great career possibility.
So we wanted to highlight a few of our equity pieces here in computer science. So as a former Title I teacher, equity just speaks to my heart. I really want to make sure that all students have access to computer science, and really one of our main goals is to help students get out of intergenerational poverty by trying to give them a new life skill that they can use and be successful at. So right there, I think that says leaps and bounds about where we're at. So here are actually some of our current equity statistics from Skillstruck. Right now, 54% of our students come from a low-income family. So we really are trying to get in there and make it equitable for everyone, as well as I love the statistic that 49% of our users are female. So we're really trying to get more women into coding as well. So if we start thinking about why do we have high school, what's the end goal? Really, we're trying to prepare our kids for jobs that we don't know if they really exist right now or not, especially when you're talking for the kids in elementary school. You are preparing them for roles that maybe aren't really even a thing right now. So how can we best prepare them? Well, if you're giving them opportunities to grow a growth mindset, to excel in computer science, they can apply those skills to a myriad of different things. So that is really what we are trying to do.
And I pulled some of these statistics from the code.org reports, which if you're ever interested in digging deeper into those, visit their statistics. They're great. It's like a great motivational piece for why computer science. So there's 11,112 computer science related jobs open right now with that high median salary. So there is a future there. And something that we like to talk about too is we know that not all students are going to be coders, right? But there's so many jobs with computer science things intertwined in them. So we don't need to just say, oh, everyone should code. Everyone should learn computer science and these skills because they're going to be the future. Kind of what we're kind of talking about with there's so many jobs that we don't even know exist yet. So here's just a few examples of jobs that relate to computer science. So if anyone would like to share, what initiatives does your district currently have in place to prepare students for their futures? While you think about that, in my previous role, this is something that I'm really passionate about and would like to share. We had innovation coaches and like specials, like I stated earlier, where students would come to me for technology class. The problem there was every school did their own thing. So if someone in my role wasn't quite passionate about computer science or coding experiences for students, they weren't going to get those at all. So when you think about initiatives for your schools or your districts, also think about, do they align and do they provide computer science for all? So if anyone would like to share any initiatives, feel free to, again, shout them out or put them in the chat. Or something that you would like to see. Awesome. I see trying to pull in STEM opportunities like a lab in the library and an after-school program. So very similar to probably how my previous school district handled things like this. All right, so we are encouraging everyone to be an advocate for computer science. Students spend 1,200 hours a year in school. So how can we encourage different computer science experiences, and how can we be an advocate? So something that I stated earlier is we have to advocate for students who maybe are misbehaving in class or not getting all of their work done to still be able to participate in STEM experiences. I think we need to stop picturing it as an extra and start to have it be an everyday experience that is extremely important. So some ways we can get kids into computer science is providing access. So providing access to everyone, especially at younger ages. So early exposure, kindergarten, they can start. They can do unplugged, they can learn digital citizenship, there's tons of ways to introduce computer science at a younger age. Making sure you have engaging, accessible content and curriculum. And love this one, showing role models that look like them in computer science. So we're actually going to do a little hands-on activity. So we're going to provide you with a link where you can get into a code playground. And this is for Voyage. Voyage is our 6th through 12th grade platform. And I'll show you both Voyage and Launchpad in a little bit, but we're going to get some hands-on so you can get in there and organize your thoughts. So this link will take you to a code playground. You will enter your first and last name and your email address and click submit. And you will come to this screen and we will be doing a little headers activity. So I'll give a couple minutes just for you to get logged into that link, and then we'll get started with our little activity.
Jessica, do you mind putting that link into the chat?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I will share these links and these resources after, so don't need to write it down. I'll make sure that you have that. And I don't want to go too fast. So whenever you're ready, if in the chat you want to just say ready to go or whatever. All right. So I'm going to just switch my screens here. Sorry, it went back to that presentation. And sometimes it is hard to exit out. All right, so like I said, oh my gosh. There we go. Okay, like I stated, we're going to do a little hands-on activity with headers. So a header is going to be a tag inside of the greater than and less than symbol. So an opening tag will look like this. So you are going to, Brooke and I have been joking during our H1 workshops. A lot of people call them different things. We were calling them alligators, we were calling them carrots, whatever you would like to call them, or you could just say greater than less than, but that's kind of boring. But you're going to put an H1 inside of that greater than less than carrot alligator situation. So that'll be an opening tag. And then a closing tag is just going to have that kind of backslash inside of there. So for H1 tag, H1 is going to be the biggest font size that comes through. And then H2 through H6, they'll get smaller and smaller. It's kind of like a hierarchy. So H1 is going to be the biggest, with H6 being the smallest. So we're actually going to, inside of our H1, we're going to make this our title. So we are finding our Y. So we'll just put in Y computer science. Okay, so this middle section here is where we are entering our code, and then you will see it run on the right side. In this playground, you also have some access to our courses, which will help you along the way. And this is a link you can share with students. So if you're wanting to do an activity, you could test this out as well. For today, we're kind of just going to go through the basics of headers. So if you wanted to kind of push that to the side and have some more room, you can kind of just copy what I'm doing today. So inside our H1 tags, we're going to put Y computer science. And then we are going to put an H2. Oh. So our font's going to get a little bit smaller. So in our H2, we're going to put our number one reason for why we want to have computer science in our schools, or why we teach computer science. So for me, I'm going to put my number one reason, which is equip students with skills to be prepared for innovative, challenging, and high-paying jobs. So my opening tag is going to have H2, and my closing tag, which includes that backslash, is going to be the closing tag there. And then you can take a couple of minutes to just continue to go. So you'll do H3. Oop, I forgot an H there. So you'll see what happens. Okay, so something really nice about our platform is it provides students with some immediate feedback. You'll see that H3 is highlighted in red. There is clearly a bug going on because I didn't put an H in the opening tag. And then you'll see it run on the side there. You're having some interesting things happening there. So you're having what kind of looks like a heart. I don't know if you used to have like MySpace or AIM, but that's how you would do hearts. But that would be kind of pulling up there. So students get immediate feedback of something's not quite right, which is really nice. So I'll go ahead and fix that. So you can continue. Putting some thoughts in there until you get filled up with an H6 tag, and you'll be able to see that getting smaller and smaller. Something we kind of mentioned earlier was promoting a growth mindset. Trying to think really hard about my last one. Anyone want to throw something in there? All right, so once you work through that, you will have an H1 tag with your title, Why Computer Science, filled with 5 reasons, 5 of your whys, and you'll see that those get a bit smaller and smaller every time. So one thing I'll say about our free code editor, which is kind of what we're playing in right now, our playground code editor, whatever you would like to call it, is it does not save your work. So if this is something that you would like to keep, my suggestion would be to copy all of your code and paste it into a separate document. And then later, if you want to reopen your playground and continue working, you can just paste it in there and then you can continue your work. This is what I would also suggest if you were going to use the playground with your students, would be if you're not quite done, because this might take a little bit longer than you have time for, is to just make sure they're copying and pasting it into a separate document, and then they'll be able to just continue moving forward. So while I'm in the playground, what I'll show you is some of our lessons. So this is our Voyage platform. Like I stated before, on the left side, you'll have courses. In the middle, where we were just practicing, is where you enter your code and then you'll see it run. So these are our lessons on the side here. I just showed you headers. So if you maybe got bumped out of Zoom or you didn't quite follow everything, you could open up this headers lesson and get some further information of how to successfully create headers. So these are how all of our lessons in here flow. There will be a text-to-speech option and videos in every lesson, because we know not all learners can read all of that text. And then you'll scroll to get some more information. We will have vocabulary words. So when you hover, you'll get some additional information, not having to go to another window. And then you will get some examples of the header tag hierarchy, which is kind of what we talked about, going from H1 through H6. And you'll just get all the information you need for your lesson. From there, then you would have a code checkpoint, which would be students practicing a little bit of what they've learned on a very small scale. Then you'll have a lesson quiz, which is an auto-graded quiz for students. It gives them immediate feedback. So if they were to get it incorrectly, they'd get a hint for improving. If they got it correctly, they'll be able to move on. And then there are some challenges to help practice outside of that small scale checkpoint. They'll have a challenge where they'll practice even more. This is a good opportunity to bring in some cross-curricular things. You can see create a haiku. So if you're doing some poetry, you could maybe bring this into reading instead of having it have to be a standalone activity for the day. So lots of challenges for students to practice and to be engaged in coding here. So this is just that haiku example. It'll have them some requirements for creating a haiku with different header tags, and then it'll auto grade that for them. So if they didn't get all of the requirements in, or if they had some bugs, it will give them some feedback for improving. So that's kind of how our lessons go. There's also some games. So if you have students who are completing, quicker than others, they can have some games and they directly relate back to the content. So they are not going from creating headers to some random game that has nothing to do with computer science. So that is pretty nice as well. So that's how our lessons flow in our Voyage platform. I'm actually going to stop sharing so I can talk about some additional resources. All right, so I'm gonna just pull up my presentation here. Okay, so What we were just in was the Voyage Playground link. We also are going to have a Launchpad Playground link available to you. So if you would like to experience our elementary platform, we'll have that playground link as well. I'll open that in a moment just to give you a brief overview. We also have a link for a teacher demo account. So that will be where you can get in and you can see both Voyage and Launchpad resources and our educator resources. So if you're looking for a little bit something more additional than the playground link, which is really kind of student-centered if you wanted to practice with them, you can dig into that teacher demo account. And then we have 2 events coming up. So in March is Women's History Month. So we have a coding event that is elementary centered. Our team will do kind of an overview and teach teachers how to teach code relating to Women's History Month. And then those teachers would be provided with a lesson plan and resources so they can take that right back to their classroom and teach that with students. Same thing for Earth Day. We're going to do an Earth Day code event similar. That is actually, I will be running that one. So I will be teaching teachers how to do a code activity relating to Earth Day, provide them with lesson plan and resources so they can go back and do it with students. So a good way to maybe try things out and see if this is of interest to your students. But before we go, I'll get into Launchpad here. So Launchpad Code Playground will be the similar sign-in process, just first and last name and your email. And then it'll be just a couple of activities to have kind of, you could do this with students as well. You can dabble into our platform. So there will be one lesson with our night puzzles, which is how students practice things like sequencing, algorithms, loops, all of that. And then there's also an HTML lesson as well. So we just learned headers in our Voyage platform, but if you're an elementary teacher, you could learn some headers and HTML in this Launchpad platform as well. So there's a couple of activities that you can go through there with some challenges. You just saw this in Voyage. This is what it looks like in our Launchpad. So a little bit more friendly for those elementary students. So there's some activities in there that you could try. Those were challenges. These are our night puzzles. So you could go in and have students learn some sequencing and algorithms while having some fun with our little nights here. So again, another way to just introduce this to students and see how much they love it, which they probably will. And then we can go into, maybe I'll show, while I have you, I'll just quickly show our Launchpad platform outside of that free access. Sorry for all of the sharing and unsharing, but I've got lots of things open. Any questions while I pull this up? Anything from the team that they want to add about our platforms?
We also just started our brand new typing curriculum in January, which is called Type Station. It's really been a big hit. It shows the students exactly where their hands need to be on the keyboard to type each letter. And at the end of every lesson, it gives them all of these great data points from words per minute to percentage accuracy and the letter or the key that they hit incorrectly the most. So a lot of great data points, and then it gives that information to you as well on the teacher side.
Yes. Thank you, Archie. All right, so this is an example of grade 3. So this is our actual Launchpad platform outside of that code link, that code editor that you just saw. So these are how our lessons flow. So this is a sequencing lesson at 3rd grade. Again, they'll have a text-to-speech option. They'll get all of their information here, and it will be reinforced with a video because, again, we know not all learners will be able to read that text, especially at that 3rd grade level. There will be an auto-graded quiz, like I stated before, just a few questions, check for understanding. It'll give them immediate feedback, like I stated before. So incorrect, try again, and here's a hint for improving. So that is how our quizzes go. And then you saw briefly our puzzle in that free code editor. So those will be our puzzles in here as well. You'll notice that on the left, the textbook stays with them. So if they're not quite sure what they learned or need to have it read to them again, or even they can watch this video while they work with their little knights here. So gives them some additional resources to continue learning and to be successful. And then from there are games. We also have typing games. So yes, we have Type Station. We also have typing games mixed into here as well, because we know if you're going to be making headers and things like that, like we just did earlier, you're going to have to know how to type. And all of our games relate, if I get this wrong, you can see here, all of these games relate directly back to the information that they learned in that lesson. So the sentence is about sequencing. It's not about something totally random. So that's just a brief overview of our Launchpad. I'd be happy to show a little bit more higher level at a different time if that is of interest to you. So any questions or requests?
Thank you, Jessica. That looked great. Do you maybe want to show what Campus Pro and what comes available? I know as schools in Missouri are just thinking about getting started with computer science, there might be a little bit of an anxiety around it, but we do have some great training resources ready and available for you to watch at your leisure anytime that you need additional help.
Yes, I will pull that up. So we have great educator resources. I'm sure this is what Margie spends a lot of time making sure teachers know how to use all of these wonderful things. So we do have lesson plans and we have Campus Pro. So these are some great teacher resources. So for our lesson plans, I just showed you 3rd grade, we were in sequencing. There will be lesson plans for all of the student-facing lessons. There's a teacher lesson plan. So they'll have a warm-up activity and they'll have everything that they need to teach this. So if you've never taught this before, or you have teachers who have never taught this before, but they're going to be required to, this will be super great for them. They don't have to reinvent the wheel or do too much digging into some resources. What I also love is you can see here, create a simple maze out of desks. So we have a lot of unplugged things wrapped up into here as well. So it's not always you're on the devices. There's some fun ways to have some unplugged things and to relate this to real world experiences. So there's a lot of that mixed into there as well. And then Brooke was mentioning we have Campus Pro. So Campus Pro is a professional development resource that can really be utilized at any time. So it's kind of at your fingertips whenever you have a moment to do that. So this is going to teach teachers how to use our platform. And then there's lessons in here to even teach computer science even better. So there's a lot of, these are all videos to teach and to improve how you're approaching computer science. So wonderful lessons here to teach things like digital citizenship, debugging. There's just tons of content here that you can watch videos at any time. Yeah, Margie, if there's anything else you want to say in terms of what teachers love about our teacher resources, feel free.
Oh, of course. So would you mind going into student progress?
Yes. Okay.
And showing the graphs at the top? That is like a huge hit. So yes. In student progress, if you take a look at the top here, you can see the checkpoint attempts for your entire class. So you can sort it by what section or what class you're looking at. And this way is a great way for you to tell the taller the graph, the more you need to review it whole class. So I would be looking at this going, okay, I should probably review HTML structure with my class. Whereas if I look at quiz question attempts, it will tell me the same thing, but for quiz questions. So maybe I don't need to go over HTML title with them, but for that one, definitely background color. So it's just another way to look at your data, whole class, and make the best determinations for you as a teacher.
Yes, I love that part as well. I always love to show this to teachers. Just such a good way to plan what you need to reteach before you move on to your next lesson. I also love that you can see where your students are at as well. So you can see the check mark means they've completed all of the lesson. The open circle means they're still working, and the slash means that they have never started that lesson yet. So you can kind of see that some are cruising and some are maybe falling behind a little bit. So I also like to say this could be a great way for you to create some small groups. Like maybe you want to re-meet with some of these students who are not getting very far, or maybe you want to make some class leaders out of some that are cruising through. And then you can even click on that and get even more information. So you can see their checkpoint attempts, their quiz question attempts, and then you'll be able to actually view their submitted code on your device instead of having to go around and see, you know, what students' code is on their individual devices, which is something I used to have to do. And then they would tell me, I swear I did it. And you're like, you didn't do your code. But so that's nice. It removes that barrier there for sure. Anything else?
Fantastic.
All right.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yes, we appreciate everyone checking in and watching this video today. Thank you, Jessica, for an amazing job. And the links for everything that was discussed within this presentation will be available with MOREnet when they send this out. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Right. Happy coding.
Please reach out if you have any questions or need any additional information, or you want to do something like this with a group of your teachers. So we're available for whatever you need.
Thank you.